So how many people? 49. Okay. Okay. So again, you can what you can do, just like last time you make in each other this attendees, so that those removal things won't happen. Okay. So Asutosh Bevria is there, or whoever is available. Yeah. So you just so last time, so you made all the people attendees, so you can do in that way, so that those things people could not do. Okay. Okay, fine. So let us start our discussion today. Mm. Yeah. So you can see my presentation, right? Hello.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yeah. Okay. So just quickly we will go through what we discussed last week. Just brush up the things, and then we will move forward. So in last week we have just given the basic overview or introduction of this system and process and the control system, its requirement, its objective, and its implementation point of view, right? So you know that how we started. So basically, in the that introductory module, module one, we have given the overall introduction of the course. What are the different modules? What are the topics we are going to teach? That overview we have talked about. Then in the module two, so Somnath sir took that particular module two, which mainly includes the microcontroller, that along its architecture, mostly its internal architecture, along with its programming aspects, right? So now, as you know that in this course we have the fundamental of embedded control and software. So basically, that embedded system aspects, the embedded architecture, microcontroller architecture, its components. So that's those things you have already learned. So now, if I want, and we have also given different type of examples of real life embedded control system. So there we told that if I want to control a particular system using the embedded logic, like this washing machine examples we talked about, then this adaptive cruise control in automobile application. So a couple of examples we have talked about. So there, when we want to implement those real life system and those control systems in that practical scenario we want to build, so then what we need to do, we have the embedded system, that is the microcontroller in my hand. Now I have to interface this particular controller with our external system, external world, with the help of sensors, actuators, signal conditioning circuits, communication blocks, etc. Fine. And in that aspects, control is very important aspects in that scenario. And that control logic we have to implement or write, even that we can write in that microcontroller itself. In the programming code or logic itself, I can write the corresponding controller logic, and I can try to implement that, right? So ultimately, that embedded controller or the microcontroller will be interfaced or the integrated with our process or the plant with the help of the sensors, actuators, signal conditioning circuits, communication blocks, and so on. Fine. So in that context, we must be aware of the basic control system strategies. What are the system means? Why this control is required? What this control system means? How can we develop this controller logic? How can we model the system mathematically? So those things we need to be aware, right? So that's why I am going to take this particular module 3, which will deal with these aspects. Fine. So in that context, these basic definitions we talked about, that what is this system mean. System can include engineering system, biological systems, information system, everything. It includes input, output, disturbances, etc. Then that control system. So control means basically I can think of control as the combination of sensing, computation, and actuations. So we talked about, suppose I want to control the speed of this particular automobile. So then I need to have some sensor which will continuously monitoring the speed, and I have this computation control law is required, which, and this particular law can be written, or the corresponding logic can be written in the microcontroller itself using the programming and code, and then the microcontroller or the embedded controller output will go to the actuator, which will drive the particular system to achieve certain speeds. And the goals also we talked about, that stability, performance, etc. Fine. So now, with respect to the human body also, we have given the analogy that in our human body itself, so many beautiful control systems are very beautifully and elegantly, they are already inbuilt or implanted, right? Thermoregulatory system, pancreas, etc. And our sensory organs can act as sensor, hands, legs, limbs, those act as the actuator. So those examples also we talked about. Then we have categorized that what this open loop means, what this closed loop means. And we told open loop means when no feedback is there, but feedback is very essential, and which comes under this closed loop system. So because without the feedback, the proper controlling or the regulation cannot happen. Fine. So like that in our this teacher student this learning mechanism, so in that also the feedback is essential, isn't it? So because you can think of, suppose teacher, suppose I am just giving the delivering the lectures, so you can think of I am the that controller and you are the that process, so that this learning system of the student, that we can think of as the process. So if there is no feedback, so then I will be delivering in a particular way, assuming some that you have some prerequisites or something you have in your brain, and based on that, keeping that thing in mind, I am delivering in the lecture in a particular speed, pace, and particular way. Now if it is open loop, if you don't give any feedback, so then the process may not be that complete, or may not be the very efficient, because in that case, suppose you do, if you don't understand something, or if you have some doubts, and if you don't make it clear, so then those things will be stacked over in your brain, and then the system will be disturbed, so the learning process will not be complete. So but when you will give me some feedback, so then that you are facing these difficulties, or the way of presentation or space should be like this, so then according to that I can moderate or tune uh, myself as well. Fine. That is one way. Second way you can think of, that from my point of view, suppose uh, that one feedback is from your point of view, students feedback based on the learning mechanism. Another can be the examinations or the class test like this. So that can be also thought of as a feedback or measurement mechanism, by which I can understand that how much you have learned based on my that delivered lectures, right? So in that way, in that teaching learning mechanism also, the feedback system comes into the picture. And with respect to the missile launcher systems, we have given this particular example, right? Then we talked about, we have discussed this particular block diagram, basic block diagram of control system, and there we elaborated what this controller means, actuator means, sensor means, process means, right? So then the practical example, like automobile steering control system examples, we have talked about with this with the help of this block diagram and this particular image, right? Then we have categorized what this manual control means, what is this automatic control means. So when there is no machines or automation, manually the human being or the operator is doing something, so then we call it as the manual control. And then when we use some so this one, we have given the example of manual control, where this operator was that doing this control mechanisms manually. But when we replace that operator with the help of some electronic controller, then transmitter, then control valve, so then it becomes automatic, and it becomes less error. It becomes that error is becoming less, as well as the overall control mechanisms will be also becoming efficient. Fine. So that portions we talked about. Then we told that what is the requirement of mathematical modeling of the system. So with this particular slide, we have ended up in last week. So in this week today, we will start from here and then gradually move forward. Okay. So till now, please let me know if you have any sort of difficulties in understanding or if you need any clarification, because this is very important. So from the day one itself, please feel free to ask whatever question comes into your mind. So you can type in chat box, or you can during the discussions also, if you feel, you can directly ask for each against each slides or each points or whatever we are discussing. Fine. So please feel free to get whatever questions comes into your mind, please get it clarified. Okay. So far in the last week, whatever we discussed, and today, just now I have that given the recap of the things. So based on that, is it okay? Do you have any questions so far? If not, so then we will move forward. Yeah. So no comments. So means I am supposed to move forward. Okay, slides.
Yes, sir.
Slides is the question. Oh, okay. So no, so last week I did not upload the slide because just that Somnath sir was uploading. So in between I did not upload because that might some jumble up or mix up. So just and at least some up to certain portion, some module, let me cover, say like suppose I am thinking that these two lectures if I complete, so then it will be some sort of complete. So in that way, I am planning to upload. So let me finish today up to certain extent, so that because only
So
suppose
can you create a
slide.
special folder for this course and upload the slides in that?
What please,
So can you
can you?
create a special folder for this module and upload the slides in that?
No, definitely. So while uploading, I will give the name that module 3 like this. So I will give the name. So that is fine. That is not an issue. But since in the last week, just that was the some in between, I have taken the classes. So because that was not the continuity. So now today onwards, at least next at least 3 classes, next 3 4 classes I will take. So let me take that, and so then based on the requirement, so I will upload up to certain, completing up to certain extent. So based on the requirements, obviously, yeah. So definitely it will be uploaded. So don't worry about that. Okay. Okay. So okay. So we will continue. Okay. So I hope you don't have any questions so far. Okay. So now this that basic system or basic control system, what it means, what is its requirement, what are the basic types. So those things we discuss. Now ultimately, what is our objective? You have already learned about the microcontroller and its programming. Now that microcontroller I will use to control some physical system, right? So physical system means suppose I have some tank. So in that tank, I want to that control the water level of the tank. So for certain purposes, right? So then my tank, that water level control of tank, that will become as the physical system. Now I want to control that particular system with the help of my controller, and that control logic can be implemented in the microcontroller, right? So in that case, how to map these things or how to do this coordination, or because directly this microcontroller, you must have seen the microcontroller. So suppose some Atmega or AVR or Arduino board, there is also one Atmega microcontroller is there, whatever. So microcontroller with couple of pins, and this is basically, it looks like an IC, right? So black box IC with the number of with various number of pins with their, and they have different functionalities and all. Now how can I directly connect that IC to the my plant or the tank, right? So in that aspect, I need to understand the mathematical modeling of a particular system, and once I understand the mathematical model, then I can know that for what type of input and what is my expected output for that particular system. Suppose for this tank system or some temperature measurement system or some adaptive cruise control system, whatever. So I have to know what is the input of the system, what is the output of the system. So for a given input, the system will give a given particular output, right? And I need to understand that what is the model of that system, so that I can understand that for this input, it should give what type of output, or what will be the output characteristic. And according to that, I have to understand that what is meant by controlling this particular system. So controlling means for this system, I will, a particular system, for this input, I will get this output. So unless I know that model of the system, I cannot characterize the system, or I cannot understand the behavior of the system properly. And at the same time, without understanding the behavior, I cannot design a controller which can control that particular system to achieve certain goals or some desired purposes, right? So that's why mathematical modeling is very important, right? And based on this mathematical modeling itself, I will be able to that write the corresponding controller logic, and that logic will be again in mathematical form, and then we will convert it into some that codes, and that code I can burn into the microcontroller, and then only I can have the that visualizations of the total complete things, and then only I will be able to interconnect those different modules together to achieve certain control system logic or certain control system goal. Okay, so in that context, what we told, that the example wise, so basically the for a system I have to understand the input output relationship, and the examples what I talked about. Suppose for a resistive type temperature sensor, I have given the example that some metallic type if some metallic type temperature sensor is there, then we know with the change in resistance, with change in temperature, its resistance will change. And typically this will be the mathematical expression RT equals to R naught into 1 plus alpha t plus beta t square plus gamma t cube, likewise this polynomial, fine, where RT is the resistance at temperature T, R naught is the resistance at temperature 0, and alpha, beta, gamma, they are the material constant, fine, and this T is the difference in temperature, that is T minus 0, so that's why it is T. Similarly, if I consider a first order system where typically the example is suppose some temperature measurement system or some RC circuit, if we consider, so there if we find out the input output relationship, we will get a simple first order differential equation, and first order differential equation correspond to the characteristic of a first order system. Similarly, second order differential equations will correspond to the characteristic of second order system, and its example includes RLC circuit in electrical system, mass spring damper system in mechanical domain. Similarly, you can have lot of other examples which can be categorized under first order, second order, like this. And what we are this type of differential equations, how can we obtain them? Using simple physical laws governing a particular system. For example, in case of mechanical system, Newton's law is used often for arrive at these type of differential equations. Or if I have some electrical systems, then often those Kirchhoff's law, that Kirchhoff's current law, voltage law, those are often used to arrive at this differential equation, right? And deriving reasonable mathematical model is the most important part of the entire analysis of the control system, because the physical system, we will try to model the physical system also using some mathematical equation, and at the same time the controller logic will be also written in terms of the mathematical domain, right? So that everything can be compatible with each other, and using the microcontroller we can control the whole things, right? And once the mathematical model is obtained, various analytical and computer tools can be used for analysis and synthesis purpose. So till now we have discussed. Now in the continuation, here we have put one slides which represents simplicity versus accuracy. So what does it mean? So here in the last slides we told that whatever be the physical system or the controller system, we want to find out its corresponding mathematical model, fine. And obviously mathematical model, first order equation, second order equation, those things, so those are obviously based on certain assumptions. Now whether the model what I got, the mathematical model what I have arrived for a particular system, whether that mathematical model is correct or not, that is very important, right? Because if it is not correct, then your all the that efforts is in vain, right? So that you have to check. Now, obviously, while deriving the equations, so there are different type of assumptions we make, and based on that assumptions, we arrive at certain mathematical model. Now, in this case, we have to compromise between the simplicity of the model and accuracy of the results of the analysis, right? Because in why we are saying that, because in deriving a reasonably simplified model, it is necessary to ignore certain inherent physical properties of the system. Because if I want that my model is simple, so that analysis will be simple, so that calculation will be simple. If I am emphasizing on that, so then I might need to ignore certain inherent physical properties, right? And at the same time, I have to, while I am assuming some particular parameters and I am ignoring some of the things, then I have to understand that whether the parameters or the components which I am ignoring, how much impact or how much effect are having those parameters, how much effect of those parameters are there on the system. If the effects of those parameters which we are neglecting, if the effects is not that much, then it is well and good to ignore them. But if those effects are very dominant or prominent, so then we cannot ignore them, and in that case we have to take into account. Then obviously my mathematical model complexity might increase. So complexity in the sense, suppose in the last slides we have seen three examples we have shown. One is the polynomial, another was first order system, another was second order system. Those were completely ordinary differential equation. Now it may happen that if you want to include some of the parameters which we are ignoring to arrive at that normal first order, second order ordinary differential equations, and if we want to incorporate some of the ignored parameters, so then it may happen that instead of ODE, you can arrive at some partial differential equation. And obviously that PD complexity is is bit more with respect to the ODE. So this is just for one simple example. So similarly, if a linear lump parameter mathematical model is desired, it is always necessary to ignore certain nonlinearities and distributed parameters that may be present in the system. And if the effects of these ignored properties are small, then we will get good agreement between the mathematical model and the practical experimental study of the system, right? But if ignored properties, if they are having large effect, so then we will not get good agreement between the mathematical model and the practical experimental model, right? So these things we have to take into account while doing the modeling. Okay. Okay. Now we are gradually moving towards the mathematical modeling aspects, and obviously we will give the example of the practical real life systems which we can visualize, right? So in that context, just we will couple of terminologies we will talk about, and I believe that these linear systems, linearity, non-linearity. So I think who are in third year, this electronics background, so they might have done some course on signal system or some signal network type of things. And also in mathematics course, you all must have gone through in first year courses. So there some of these terminologies like linear system, Laplace transform, so those you must have studied there. But still I will assume that so just from the scratch I will talk about, so that it will be easier for you to grasp as well as recapitulate. So okay, so while we are talking about this system, physical system, controller, those systems, so then mostly we prefer the linear systems. And because for the linear systems, the analysis or the modeling approach, so they are quite established. But where the system is non-linear, so then this modeling or the analysis becomes complex. And in that case, the that difficulty level will also increase. So here just first we will talk about the linear system. So because although in nature or in practical situations many of the systems are non-linear, but what we do, we generally try to linearize them with certain assumptions and all. Fine. So that's why whatever the analysis or mathematical tools modeling we will discuss, so those will be with respect to the linear system, because for that the mathematical aspects are well established. Okay. So in that context, this what type of system we can call linear system? So obviously the system will be called linear if it satisfies the principle of superposition and homogeneity, right? So this what is superposition and homogeneity means? So some of you might be aware of that, but still, so I am recapping. So this superposition and homogeneity means, suppose I have a system whose input, if I apply the input, typically suppose xt is the input and yt is the output of a particular system. Okay. Now for this system, if I apply input x1, and suppose for that I am getting the output as y1, then if I apply, after some time I am applying input x2, for that input if I get output y2. Suppose these that data or informations is given to you, that for x1 input output is y1, for x2 input output is y2. Now if I multiply this x1 with a is suppose some scalar quantity. So if I multiply this input x1 by a, and then your input will become ax1, right? Now for this input ax1, if I get output ay1, similarly for input bx2, if I get output by2, so then we can call they are following the homogeneity principle. Fine. So that means I am multiplying with some scalar quantity the input, accordingly the output also will be getting multiplied by that scalar quantity. That is called as the homogeneity principle. Now what is superposition? So superposition is just the summation of this input. Suppose if x1 plus x2 input if I give, and for that if I get the output y1 plus y2. Similarly, if I combine the superposition and homogeneity, then what I can tell, if due to the input ax1 plus bx2, if the output is ay1 plus by2, if this particular relationship is satisfied, so then I will call the system as linear, right? But if these properties are not satisfied, so then I can call the system as non-linear, right? So that is the standard that definitions of a linear system. Fine. And in this case, system means what? You can think of some practical system like that tank. As I said, that tank water level control of the tank. So that tank level you can think of as the system, where you have some in the tank, you have some inlet flow rate, you have some outlet flow rate, and you have some height or the level of the tank. So those are the different parameters, and for that particular tank level, that if the input output relationship satisfies this type of this criteria or this mathematical expression, so then I can call the system as linear, right? And if an experimental investigation of a dynamic system, in an experimental investigation of a dynamic system, if cause and effect are proportional, thus implying that the principle of superposition holds, then the system can be considered linear, as I already explained by this simple that expressions, right? Then another terminology which is called as the time invariant. So what does it mean by time invariant? Suppose similarly, if for xt input, I am assuming the output is yt. Now, if I shift this t in the input side as t minus t naught, then if the output is also getting shifted by t minus t naught, so then I can call the system is time invariant. Okay. So that means that whatever effect I am applying on the input side, if the similar effect is getting reflected in the output side, so then I will call the system as time invariant. And if a system satisfies both the linearity as well as the time invariant, then I can call the system as linear time invariant system. Fine. Now, as you have seen in the mathematical model slides, that there I have given the example of first order system, second order system, which deals with the simple ordinary differential equation. So in that context, so most of the systems are described with the help of the ordinary differential equations, first order, second order, third order, like this. Fine. So in that context, how can we define this linear time invariant property? So there what we can say, generally a differential equation is linear if the coefficients are constants or functions only of the independent variable, right? So coefficients means those a, b, those things, right? And dynamic systems which are composed of linear time invariant lumped parameter components may be described by linear time invariant differential equations, that is constant coefficient differential equations, and such systems are called linear time invariant system or linear constant coefficient system. So what we can understood from here, that we have understood that what this linearity means, what this time invariant means. Now, when I talk about a differential equation, suppose a dy dt2 a d2y dt2 plus b dy dt plus cy equals to suppose dx. So in that case, a, b, c, d, those are the coefficients, right? So if those coefficients are constant or functions only of the independent variable, so then I can call the system as linear. Now, if the systems that are composed of linear time invariant components, like those a, b, c, d, as I said, then so, and if that system satisfies the criteria of both the linearity and this time invariant principle, so then I will call the that equations or that system as linear time invariant system or linear constant coefficient system. Okay. So why we have
Sir,
introduced, yeah.
sir, I didn't understand the time invariant thing. Can you give an example I mean, which is not time invariant?
Which is not time invariant?
Not time invariant.
Yeah. So suppose if you think of, suppose for example, suppose I have a system, a normal that I linearity you have understood. Now I have a suppose some system where some yt is your output and xt is the input. So suppose if you have something, some y equals to that t into that xt into some e to the power t. So likewise, if some a is there, equation is there, and there if in the that input, so input side, your suppose xt is the input. Now in the equations you are just putting that t equals to t minus t naught. So your suppose xt equals to for example t into some e to the power at. Suppose you consider xt is the input, which is equals to t into e to the power at, and then if you just put t minus t naught, so then what you will get, that t minus t naught into e to the power a into t minus t naught. And then if you put your this yt value, so this yt if you calculate based on that input, so then you can find this particular this a will not be satisfied. This if you shift this that t minus t naught also in that particular expression, so then you that may not get that this that criteria satisfied. Okay. So I think it is enough clear. Okay, let me just here if some writing provision is there. Can you see this here, whiteboard? Hello?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So suppose some y equals to, if you say that t into, suppose your xt. Okay, here that writing is not good. Anyway, so if this is your some a, that where xt is your input and yt is your output. Okay, now if in this case your y, your xt, if some t square or some that type of expressions if you have, so then if I that y t minus t0 if I place here, not good here, then if the t minus t naught into x t minus t naught, that type of, if that satisfies, so y t minus t naught equals to, here also t you will put t minus t naught, and x here also you will put t minus t naught. Now if I have some expressions where this xt is some t e to the power at, that type of term, so there if the shift, if I shift this t by t minus t naught in that x, then in the output it will not get reflected. Okay, so I will I think you are not that much clear, so I will come back to this. So let us complete this, so then I will come back. Okay. Okay, so I will come back. So let us continue with this here. Now in that context, so in the previous slides we talked about this linear time invariant this concept, and why I told this linear time invariant, because this linear time invariance is very much essential to that for modeling aspects or this mathematical modeling aspect. So in that context we have the terminology which is called as the this transfer function. So what this transfer function means, and generally this transfer function is applicable to linear time invariant differential equation. And what this transfer function means, so this is nothing but the relationship between input and output, because so far we are discussing about the mathematical model and the relationship between input and output, and the, you know that those differential equations what we have shown, we can use Laplace transform to, and that is again one mathematical tool or operator. And I believe this you all are acquainted or familiarized with Laplace transform in mathematics first year. So I hope so. And based on that, you know that Laplace transform, using that Laplace transforms, what we can do, and this Laplace transform is used widely in control systems or in electrical systems. Widely it is used. Why? Because the differential equations, analysis of differential equations is bit complex with respect to the simple algebraic equation, right? And with the help of these Laplace transforms, what we do, we convert the differential equations into algebraic equation, so that the analysis will become simpler, and accordingly your life will be also becoming simpler from this analysis or mathematical calculation aspect. Fine. So that's why this Laplace transform is again used in your control systems widely. And how it is used, so basically the transfer function, how do we define? We define that ratio of output and input, but without taking the direct ratio, we take Laplace transform of output, which is called as the response function, upon Laplace transform of the input, and the ratio of Laplace transform of output and Laplace transform of input is called as the transfer function. But there is an assumption that all the initial conditions are zero, right? Because you know that while the differential equation, suppose first order differential equation dy dt is there, if I take the Laplace transform, so then it will become that if the Laplace transform of yt is ys, so then dy dt, if I take the Laplace transform, it will become sys minus y naught or y0, where y0 is your initial condition, right? So that means at t equals to 0, the output is y0. So while doing this Laplace transform, or while taking this or deriving this transfer function, which is nothing but the which defines the relationship between output and input of a system, and how it is defined, we take the Laplace transform of output, and then we take the Laplace transform of input, and we then take the ratio of both of them, and assuming all the initial conditions 0, right? So in this way the transfer function is defined. And here you can see, suppose I have a nth order differential equation a naught y to the yn a yn minus 1, where this yn means dyn by dt, so like your d2x by dt2. So similarly d to the dny by dtn, right? So this is this yn defines the derivative, that dot 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 if up to any, that is equals to b naught x plus b naught x to the power m, that is the derivative, m power m times derivative b1 x m minus 1 dot 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 bmx, if that is the relationship between input and output, fine, where input is your so we have output, and that we have to take the Laplace transform of output by Laplace transform of input, fine, where your x is the input and y is the output, fine. So xt is the input, yt is the output, and if this is the nth order differential equations, if their relationship is there, so then if I take the Laplace transform of output and Laplace transform of input considering 0 initial conditions, then that ratio we call as the transfer function of the system, fine. So which will come nothing but b naught s to the power m plus b1 s to the power m minus 1, likewise divided by a naught s to the power n plus a1 s to the power n minus 1 dot 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 dot, like this. And this transfer function approach is extensively used in the analysis and design of this linear time invariant differential equation system. And the transfer function is a property of a system itself, independent of the magnitude and nature of the input. Why we are calling it? Because this is just the general ratio of output by input. It is not like that for this particular input, x1 input, I will get y1 output, and this ratio is only valid for y1 and x1. It is not. This transfer function is completely that system characteristics or system property. So because if I know the transfer function in this S domain or Laplace domain, and then for whatever input, suppose if I apply some input x1, then output y1 will be simply this transfer function multiplied by x1. Similarly, if I apply some x5, then you simply multiply this Laplace, that transfer function, into that x5, you will get the output y5, right? And that will be in Laplace domain. Then again you have to take the inverse Laplace to arrive at the actual time domain output, fine. So this is the concept of the transfer function. Now just for same continuation, the transfer function includes the units necessary to relate the input and output. However, it does not provide any information concerning the physical structure of the system. Why I am saying this? Because for a mass spring damper system also, you can get a particular type of you will get for a mass spring damper system, that is the mechanical system. For that system, you can get a second order transfer function, and in electrical circuit you have a RLC circuit. For that circuit also you can get a second order transfer function. And if the values of this mass, damper and spring, if they are such a way so that the value they are related with the values of those resistance, inductance, capacitance, for that case it may happen that the transfer function of both the system may be identical, but the systems are not identical. So in that means, although two systems are physically, they can be different, but their transfer functions can be identical. So that's why the transfer function it does not provide any information concerning the physical structure. Still, why we are using it? Because that transfer function, as we said, GS generally defined by GS, which is YS by XS, where Y is the output and X is the input. And if we know the transfer function, then simply the output you will get by multiplying this GS into XS. Okay. Now, if the transfer function of a system is known, the output or response can be studied for various form of inputs. And if the transfer function of a system is unknown, in that case, it may be established experimentally by introducing known input and studying the output of the system. What does it mean? It means that suppose I don't know the transfer function of a system, and experimentally I want to find the transfer function of system. How can I do that? What I can do, I will take a system, then I will just apply a particular amount of input and I will observe the output. Similarly, suppose that for 10 input I am observing 10 output, and by correlating those 10 input with 10 output, I can try to experimentally find out the relationship, that is the ratio of those output and input, and from there I can try to find out their transfer function. And once established, a transfer function will give full description of the dynamic characteristic of the system, but that may be distinct from its physical descriptions. Okay, I understand some are having some question, so just let me complete, so then you will
Sir,
ask.
what is the use of transfer function there?
Yeah, so that is the important thing. So we are saying that the transfer function defines the relationship of input and output, and generally the transfer function is defined in Laplace domain by taking the Laplace of output and Laplace of input and taking the ratio. And also we are saying that two systems can be physically different, but their transfer functions can be same. Then why we are understanding the transfer function, right? So why? Because once I understood the transfer function, so that means the relationship of that, because I have a system which is, you can think of some black box. For a particular systems, you will get for a particular input, you will get a particular output. Now, how that output it is generating, depending on the transfer function type, right? So if the the examples what I told, that for a RLC circuit, that is also second order system, at mass spring damper system, that is also second order system. Now if the value of RLC, suppose that in a mass spring damper system, mass is suppose some 10 kg, then your spring is suppose some 5 Newton per meter, then you have some damper suppose 1 Newton second per meter, then you have in the electrical circuit you have RLC. So if you have similar value of RLC and MBK, the values you can take same, because their unit will be different. So R equals to 10 ohm, and the corresponding your damper will be 10 Newton second per meter, for example. Similarly, your stiffness K can be your 1 Newton per meter, and the corresponding capacitor can be your 1 microfarad or 1 farad, right? So if those type of similar values are there, so then your that mathematically equation wise they will behave same, because the differential equation, in that case your their differential equations, those coefficients will be also same, because you are taking that numerical values same, but obviously their units are different because they are two completely different system. One is mechanical system, another is electrical system, but their transfer function can be same. And if I know the transfer function, then for whatever input I want, if I apply that input by multiplying the transfer function with the input, I can tell what will be the output. So basically the system dynamic characteristics can be very well understood, and dynamics, that understanding of dynamics is very, very important to characterize a system. And once I understand that, then only it will be easier for me to include a controller transfer function also, because controller will be also written in terms of transfer function, because everything has to be in compatible form so that the analysis will be simple, right? So my point is, although for two different systems the transfer function can be same, because the values we have chosen same, although the units are different, but study of transfer function is very, very important, and it will give you the dynamic characteristics descriptions very well, but that description is different from the physical description. Physical description means from the transfer function you may not understand that whether the system is electrical system or mechanical system or what type of system, only by looking the transfer function. But if you look at the units, so obviously transfer function output by unit, output by input. So output and input, they will be having different in units depending on the system types. So based on that, you can have some idea, but still that physical structure you cannot fully understand. But the mathematical and characteristics or its dynamic characteristics or its response for a given input, how it will behave. So those things you can very well understand.
Sir, what are dynamic characteristics?
Yeah. So dynamic characteristic means, suppose one is your simply response time you can think of. Response time means you suppose at t equals to t naught, at t equals to 0, you are applying a particular input. Then obviously depending on the type of the system, how much time it will take to reflect its output for that particular t. That means at t equals to 0, if I apply the input, then after how many seconds it will react to that particular input, and accordingly the output will get changed. So that is one term is called response time. So that means depending on the type of the system or the transfer function of the systems, some systems can that show the change after 5 seconds, some can show after 10 seconds. So likewise, response time one important factor. Similarly, another dynamic characteristics you can think of as your what we call is that suppose I have given a input at t equals to 0 with value suppose 5, and then the output should also react according to the input. Now after suppose 5 seconds the system is showing the change in output, but gradually the output will gradually try to follow the input. So after 5 seconds, suppose if my input amplitude is 5, then from t equals to 0, after some 1 second or something, depending on the delay time, the system will start to respond to that value, and gradually it will try to increase the value. And suppose after 5 seconds it is showing the value as 3, after 10 seconds the value is 4, after 15 seconds the value is 4.9, like this. And ultimately after I have given the input as 5, and after 10 seconds I am getting 4.99, like this. So then I am satisfied. Okay, after 10 seconds I am getting the value, so I can think of that after 10 seconds the output is getting settled down, right? So that is called as the settling time, one parameter. Now again, there are suppose some systems are there which behaves like some oscillating response. That means initially the that output initially goes very high, then very low, then gradually it oscillates, and after certain time it comes to the steady value. So those are the different important parameters which comes under this dynamic characteristics, and those we can understand from the transfer function. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So just okay. So just here. So far what we have told, we told the mathematical. Initially, we told that what a system means, what control system means, why do we need to study this control system with respect to some practical example. So then, gradually, I am going towards the modeling aspects, that is the mathematical modeling aspects. And in that aspects, what I told, that whatever be my system or the controller, I can write or derive the corresponding mathematical form. And what is the mathematical model? It deals with the relationship between the input and output, and how we express the input and output. We take the generally in we take the ratio of output and input in that Laplace domain, which we call as the transfer function. And transfer function is very important for the analysis purpose, and from that I can understand the characteristic or the system response of a particular system. Okay, so that's why till now we have understood about the transfer function. Now let us, in these slides we are showing a mathematical equation of a first order system, and in the next slides we will see the one practical example. Okay.
Sir,
Yeah.
excuse me. Sir, the transfer function that you're saying, is it a Laplace transfer of impulse response of that system?
No. That Laplace
Now, if you do
transform.
it in T domain, like if you do hold the system in T domain, and what we'll get is that output will be, if the impulse response is say H, then you'll get H X convolution H.
Yeah.
And if you do L inverse there,
Hmm.
so ultimately what you'll get is what I'm trying to say is, is it true that GS is Laplace transform of impulse response?
Yeah. So
Like,
now in what you are saying in that context, you must you might have studied in signal system about the impulse response and where convolutions might have been taught. So basically in the time domain that xt convolute ht or ht convolute xt will give you the this output,
yes,
and that if I write in Laplace domain or in frequency domain, so that is a convolution simply becomes multiple. So
yeah, that's what I'm
that
saying.
hs into xs, that will be your ys like this.
Yeah,
So from
so
that context, you are getting hs equals to simply yx by xs, which is similar to our gs expression,
acha,
right?
okay.
So basically that that impulse, so that impulse response is very important to understand a system response as well. And quite often we call that if we know the impulse response of a system, then we can characterize the systems like this. So in that context, you are very correct in that sense that basically this impulse response is very similar to our this that transfer functions what we told. And this impulse response, generally the input is our delta t, where delta t in time domain, delta t is some sort of this exponential a we will get, whereas in the if you take the Laplace of delta t, that will simply become 1, because Laplace of delta function or Laplace of impulse function is simply 1. So since Laplace of impulse is 1, so that's why the transfer function, if you consider the impulse input, and if you simply take the input and output and input ratio in Laplace domain, then it will, that's why it can become equal. Okay.
Okay, sir, got it.
Did you get it? Yeah.
Yes, sir, yes, sir.
So yeah. So just here mathematical expression wise. So in the previous transfer function slides, we have seen that nth order differential equations we have generalized it. And if I consider a simple that first order where only one derivative term is, so first order derivative term is there only dq by dt. So then it will be called as the first order system. And then here a1 and a0 are the coefficients, and our q0 is the output and qi is the input. Okay. So suppose for a system, if for qi input, if the output is q0, and if their relationship is governed by these first order equations, so then simply how I can write, you can simply derive that first equations, you can write in this form, a1 by a0 into dq by dt. In this form you can write, which again you can write in this that introducing one term as tau, and where tau is a1 by a0, and here just b0 by a0 I am writing as the k. Fine. And here this will be basically q, and I will be in a suffix. Okay. So just these equations I can simply rearrange in this fashion, and this is a simple first order ordinary differential equation. Now if I take the, so although these first order differential equations I can easily solve, and I can get its output response, that is q naught in function of time in terms of qi function of time, and obviously it will come in some exponential form. But if the system order becomes more, second order, third order, and so on, so then the analysis in differential equations form, it will be bit complex. So in that case, if we simply apply the Laplace transform, then the equations, the differential equations will be converted into algebraic equations, which are easier to solve. Fine. And you must know about this Laplace transform. So these are the relationship. Ft is the, if that Laplace transform of ft is fs, which is defined as 0 to infinity to the power minus st ft dt. S is the Laplace operator. And if I just take the Laplace transform of this particular equation, so then what I will get, tau into this derivative of Laplace domain, we know ddt of ft will be sfs minus f0 minus. So that means this at t equals to 0, the value is f0. Fine. So in that way, if I take the Laplace transform of this one, what it becomes tau into s q naught s minus q naught 0. This is the initial condition, plus q naught s, that is the Laplace domain, equals to k qi into s. Fine. Then since I told that while deriving the transfer function, I have to assume the initial condition 0. So that's why we are simply removing this q naught 0 term, because that is the initial condition which is 0. And if I remove this, then simply I can write as tau s plus 1 into q naught s equals to k qis. And then simply q naught by qi is becoming as k by 1 plus tau s, right? Which is a very standard form of first order system, and that is in mathematical domain. Okay. So where I write that gs is the transfer function and fi is the input that input function, and if not is the output function. So this is in that block diagram form I am writing. And for a first order system, this gs is simply becoming as 1 by 1 plus tau s. Or if I write this k, then simply it will be k by 1 plus tau s. Okay. So this is just the mathematical representation, how we are converting a simple first order differential equation into the corresponding Laplace domain. Okay. So is it okay? So this is so far from mathematical aspects. So initially I told the physical aspects, the what system means, what control system means, what are the practical example of control system, manual control, automatic control, open loop, closed loop, those things. So then we introduced this mathematical concept, that's why this mathematical modeling is required. And with that continuations, we have just given the example that that mathematical equation basically is used to dictate the relationship of input output for a particular system, which will be essential for understanding the system characteristics as well as for designing the controller also, right? And then we have just with respect to a mathematical simple first order equations, we have shown that how we can apply the Laplace operator and how we can derive the transfer function, which is nothing but the ratio of output and input in Laplace domain, assuming initial conditions 0. So far, is it okay to all? So if yes, so then just in the next slides, I will talk about a practical example and then I will stop. So in the practical examples, what we can see, yeah. So mathematical model of real world system, where we are considering the practical example of liquid level. So here let us see how this liquid level system I can model it using a first order differential equations, and then how can I convert it into Laplace domain, how can I get the transfer function, and so on. So just one simple example will be the liquid level. And suppose I have the liquid level, then from the very basic scratch, how can I find out the relationship of input and output? So let us try to understand that. So here you can see this tank, fine, where this is the inlet, and the inlet, this particular tank is having the uniform cross sectional area capital A. The inlet flow is Q. So basically flow means flow rate. Flow rate means volume per time. So you can think of liter per second, something like that. Okay. And outlet flow rate is Q naught, and that is also that volume flow rate. And the liquid level in the tank is this small ht, that is the liquid level. And the tank has a linear flow resistance at the outlet, that is the valve. Suppose in this outlet we have a valve, and this valve, you know, this valve means some sort of control valve, and by opening and closing the control valve, I can change or control the outlet flow rate. Okay. So this we can simply consider as some blocking device or some device which is resisting the fluid flow. Fine. So that's why this valve capacity or valve this blocking capacity, we are considering it as some resistance. Okay. And that resistance, that which we are considering as a linear flow resistance, and this relationship is given as Q naught equals to H by R. So basically R equals to H by Q naught. Fine. So that we are just assuming this valve as a resistor, which is basically resisting the fluid flow. Fine. And this particular this obviously this flow rate will depend on the H also, and that's why this resistance is defined as H by Q naught. Okay, suppose in that way it is defined. So this is my physical system. Okay, now let us try to model the to arrive the mathematical model for this type of simple a liquid level system. And here, so first of all, in order to find this mathematical model, what I have to understand, what is its input and what is its output. Okay, so you can see, obviously the input is your inlet flow rate, Qt is the input. Okay, no doubt on that. And what is the output? Output you can think of, this tank level can be the one output, because here if the inlet flow, suppose initially the inlet flow is more, and then the initially suppose the tank level is 0, and just the outlet flow, that this valve we have closed and inlet, this valve is opened, so that at inlet flow rate the tank is getting filled, and gradually the liquid level is increasing from 0 to H. Okay, so obviously the Q is the input and H is the output. In other way, you can think of, then when you open this control valve, so then what happens in the from the outlet also the liquid will gradually get out from this tank. Now if the inlet flow is higher than the outlet flow, then what will happen, that the tank will be overflowed, isn't it? And in the other way, if the outlet flow is more than the inlet flow, then tank will be emptied after some time. Okay, so depending on the flow rate, isn't it? And when the inlet and outlet will be equal, so then a particular level will be maintained. So these are that quite simple 3 cases, is not it? So physically, I think it is okay, right? Now let us try to simplify the things and analyze the system. So what we can find, that basically, so let us assume that H is the output and Q is the input. And in the other way, you can also think of Q naught is also one type of output you can think of. And if you consider Q naught is also output, then these systems you can think of as single input and 2 output. But if you consider only Qt is input, Ht is output, then single input, single output. And if you consider Ht and Q naught both output, then you can consider single input, 2 output. Okay, so just okay, forget, let us, for simplicity, let us consider Qt is the input and Ht is the output. Okay, no issue on that. Now let us try to find out its relationship. So what I can find, I can simply write this mass balance equation. What this mass balance equation means? Mass balance equations will be that, suppose this is your inlet flow rate and this Q naught, that is the outlet flow rate. Now this inlet minus outlet, based on that the tank level will be determined, is not it? And we are assuming inlet is more than the outlet. Fine. So then after some time it will reach up to this Ht value. Now let us look into that. So basically this, if I look at from mass balance equation point of view, so suppose this Q is your flow rate, that is nothing but volume per time, and if you multiply this flow rate into density, then it will become mass per time. Okay, so per unit time, how much mass is entering into the tank, per unit time, how much mass is outgoing from the tank, and the difference between this, that inlet mass and the outlet mass, that will be the rate of change of this liquid level. So how much mass of liquid is accumulating inside the tank, is not it? So this is the inlet mass minus outlet mass, that depending on that the rate of change of this height will be defined, and which is nothing but the rate of change of mass which is being accumulated in the tank, you can think of, is not it? So based on that, you can write this mass balance equation, rho into Q minus rho into Q naught. So that is the inlet mass minus outlet mass, that is the rate of change of the mass which is getting accumulated in the tank. So that is simply ddt of rho into V, where V is the volume of the liquid what is getting accumulated, and rho is the density of the liquid. Now this V you can simply write as V is the volume, that is nothing but cross section into height. So A into H, that you can write. So from here, this rho is constant, A is also constant, is not it? So that's why this rho and A will come outside, rho into A into dH by dt. Now rho is in all sides, so rho will get cancelled. So simply you can write Q minus Q naught equals to A dH by dt, right? This you can write. Now just in this Laplace domain, generally we prefer this capital letter. So just writing it in capital letter form. So this is the simplest way we are trying to describe it. So this capital Q minus capital Q naught equals to A dH by dt. So this is the first order differential equations which is the governing equations of this liquid level system. Fine. Now this is the first order differential equations, and if I take the Laplace transforms, you will get Qs minus Q naught s equals to As Hs. Here again this derivative, that H0 will come, but initial conditions we are assuming 0, so it will be simply Qs minus Q naught s equals to As Hs. Fine. So from here, what I can and again this Q naught I am replacing by H by R. Okay, so Q naught I am replacing by H by R. So from here I can simply write that Hs by Qs equals to nothing but R by ARs plus 1. Fine. And then Hs by Qs equals to, I can write as R by tau s plus 1, where tau equals to A into R. Okay. So in that way, just I have a physical system which is a liquid level system, and using the mass balance equations for these particular systems, I have arrived at these first order differential equations, and then using Laplace transforms, I have written the corresponding Laplace domain transfer function between output and input, which is a first order system expression.
So what is R?
Yeah. So R is the, here you, as I have written that the tank has a linear flow resistance at the outlet, where this R is the flow resistance basically. So here I have a valve, and valve is acting as resistance, because by changing the this opening and closing of the valve, I can change the fluid flow rate. So this is just for mathematical modeling. I am considering this as the R, that is the resistance. Okay, and which is defined as H by Q naught. So R depends on this H and this Q naught. Okay, so this is, so basically you can see that the transfer function, that output is our H, as I said in the beginning, and Q is my input. So output by input is the transfer function in Laplace domain, and that depends on R and A, which are again the physical constant of the system. So R is the resistance of the outlet valve, and A is the cross-sectional area of the tank. So which are again the system properties. Fine. And here this we are writing this A into R, this in this tau form, and later on we will define that tau is typically defined as the time constant, which is basically dictating you the response time. That means how fast the system response will be, or how slow the system response will be. That will be defined by this tau. That's why it is called as the time constant. Okay, so this is the so that is the real world system, that is the simple physical systems, and we are converting it, we are modeling it using the mathematical tool or their simple mass balance equations. We are that writing the corresponding differential equations, and from there we are trying to find out the output input relationships with respect to the transfer function. Okay, so is it okay? So hope you understood that why this mathematical modeling is important, and because the ultimately the real world system also we have to model it in mathematical form, and then only we can write the corresponding logic, corresponding codes in the microcontroller, so that the overall embedded control systems I can design. So is this basic concept, is it clear to everyone?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, fine. So I plan to cover some A point. Okay, so we are stopping today. So tomorrow we will discuss again. So with this, I am concluding here. And okay, so this LTI and those systems, someone asked a. So I will try to use this whiteboard, and based on that, I will try to write some examples, and by that it will be better for you to visualize. So tomorrow I will discuss further on this. Okay. So far, is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Acha, in the chat box, anyone have written any question? And it should be under initially relaxed conditions. LH transfer function. That's what I teaching to X. Using transfer function is even better, because to calculate it, we can take any input and use the corresponding output. Yeah, we need a cascade within each step. Yeah, okay. So, okay, so with this, I am stopping today. So tomorrow we will continue. Okay. So you can please feel free to ask if you have any questions, or else you can ask tomorrow also. You just get it acquainted. So whatever we have discussed so far, obviously the recording is available. You can go through that, and I will upload the slide also accordingly. So let me complete at least a few more slides. So then it will be in complete form. It will be easier for you. Okay. Okay. So thank you all.